These times are strange, it's quite surreal. It's never been like this. Remembering the good old days when we could hug and kiss. Back to gyms and restaurants and move through public settings. We'd give high fives and drink at dives, hold hands and dance at weddings. Now the days are longer, yet the darker in a way. We're pressing pause on normalcy, just going day by day. But we can still make jokes and art, garden, dance and sing. Cook, read books, try on fun looks and learn about new things. We can talk with friends of ours and have a heart to heart, just so long as we all stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical, so step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.
Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to 6 Feet Apart Productions and stand-up storytelling. So hello to everybody on YouTube. Hope you're doing well. Put your name and where you're from in the chat, and at some point we'll say hello and call you out. And please send the storytellers some love because they can go back in and read it afterwards, which will be lovely. I just want to say hello to everybody backstage. And we've got a few people backstage along with the tellers. So we're just going to say hello to them. Hi, everybody, wave. Lovely, 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 lovely. Now, but before we begin, I just want to do a quick shout out to everybody in Florida and say just heart goes out to everybody and just hope you're all safe and hope things clear up very soon. Right, now on with the show. Now, before we start our actual show, I wanted to just share a little bit. I went to my first proper big storytelling festival, which was the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival in Utah just about 3 weeks ago. I had an utterly fabulous time. I'd highly recommend going if you haven't been to a proper festival yet. But while I was there, what I wanted to do was interview some of the storytellers, and Ed Stivender, who's on our show, he kept running away from me, so I never got to have Ed. But I did try to interview Simon Brooks and Megan Wells, who were the two of the featured tellers. Unfortunately, they weren't very amenable to the idea at first, but I am nothing if not persistent. So I'm just going to play this short video so you can see how I got on. Megan, come back!
Get back! Stay 6 feet apart!
6 Feet Apart production enables you to listen to lovely stories from throughout the globe without seriously infecting your audience.
Because you know what? All storytelling is only 6 feet apart.
Check in to 6 Feet Apart and see all their wonderful, wonderful things that they do, because they're quite utterly brilliant.
We'll see you online, there, or live.
Oh, Simon! Come back! Oh, I had so much fun, I can't tell you. And thank you to Simon and Megan for being such good sports, and to Donna Washington and Willie Claflin for that shameless self-promotion of, well, not promotion of us. We loved it. Couldn't find Ed, but I shall get him, don't you worry. Okay, so that was enough of that. So let's get our show started. So initially at the beginning, just want to point out that probably a lot of this content is not going to be for younger ears. So if you've got kids around, I suggest you move them into another room, put on some Disney movies or something. Now, as usual, what we're going to do is we're going to bring on each storyteller one at a time to our virtual stage. I'm going to interview them, ask them a couple of personal, but possibly not too personal questions, find out a bit more about them, and then they're going to perform for your pleasure. Now, as I said, as you could probably tell from the title, all the stories are going to include some sort of stand-up. So hopefully they're all going to be funny, otherwise they're in big trouble. There might be some jokes, there'll be funny stories, there might be lots of different things. So I hope you've got your stronger leak-proof underpants on, because hold on to your pelvic floor, it's going to be a rollicking evening. So we've got 4 joyful jesters, funny fabulers and cheerful comics, and they are Ed Stivender, Kim Weitkamp, Carol Moore, and our very own Regina Stoops, who I've allowed out of the backstage that she's normally locked up in. So first up is the hilarious Ed Stivender, dubbed the Robin Williams of storytelling by Miami Herald. Ed is one of my favorite storytellers. He's not only hilarious, but he's also one of the nicest people you could possibly hope to meet. And I met him in person, as I said, at Timpanogos, which was just fantastic. And Ed made the whole thing so much friendlier, so much fun. He was actually on a show that we had called Humour Us back in May 2021, and that's free on YouTube. So if you go down, click subscribe when you go down and find it, and later on you can then go and watch that free if you want to. So we're also in hushed discussions with Ed and some of his friends, and we're going to have possibly another show with Ed in the new year. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to our newsletter and you'll hear about all the details. Now, one of the things you might not know about Ed is that he loves Morris dancing, which is a British invention. I have to say, I'm going to apologise now for that. And all the participants wear frilly shirts and flowery hats and lots of bells. And then they wave hankies about and whack sticks in each other. It's jolly strange. And they dance to strange sort of folk music. And I've always found it a little bit odd. I used to work at a pub back in the day in England, and it was a very old-fashioned pub and everything. They had Morris men, and they used to get so drunk that they would literally dance on the ceiling, hanging on to these weird things we had. So they were quite funny. Monty Python does a lot of parodies of Morris men, and the fish slapping dance is definitely one of the more memorable. Go back and then you can see what Ed does. Sort of. Okay, so that's enough of that. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Ed Stivender. Welcome, Ed. Oh, look at him, and he's got the hankies.
A-nutting we will go, me lads, a-nutting we will go. We'll stick a garland in our hats and give the girls a show. Ho!
See, you see what I mean? That's exactly my point. Jolly strange. So, I mean, obviously, I think you probably just came out of the womb making people laugh. But when did you first have the realization that you were funny and can make people laugh?
I think it might have happened with my sisters when I would make jokes, do little shows, and make my sisters laugh. But I realized that humor was a tool of self-defense in freshman year of high school when I was a 97-pound weakling picked on by the football players until one day Mr. Jones, our history teacher, said something about John Jay, the founding father, and I said, John Jay who? And everyone in the class broke up laughing. And from that day forward, the football players didn't touch me because they knew that the tongue was mightier than the fist.
Fantastic. Excellent. I used to use that as a way of not being bullied too. So it definitely works, doesn't it? Had added benefits, definitely.
Indeed.
So, Ed, who would you say was your favourite comedian and why?
Mm-hmm. If you look at videotapes or hear audio tapes of my early work, you can see that most of what I was doing, I stole from the Saturday Night Live crew on Saturday nights, especially Steve Martin. Steve Martin is probably the biggest influence on me, at least philosophically, because it was from Steve Martin that I learned that form was more important than matter, as the Jesuit theologians of the Middle Ages might say. But more commonly, you might say that shtick is more important than content. I've been accused of not having any content in my work, and I take that as a compliment. Steve Martin told us that physicality was more important than narrative, and I believe that to this day.
I do love Steve Martin. I read his book and it was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Yeah. He's wonderful. Great. All right then, Ed. Thank you very much. Everybody get back and sit back. Ed is now going to give us a comedy routine and make us laugh. No pressure, Ed. Off you go.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you all. How's everybody doing tonight? I said, how is everybody doing tonight? I can't hear you. What are you, mute? I'm kidding. I'm a kidder. I've been kidding since I was a little kid. And nowadays, I'm a big kidder. Not to say that I'm a big kid. I'm not a big kid. I'm a medium-sized adult. And I use the pronouns he, him, himself, and His Majesty, if you really need to know that. But I've got some jokes for you tonight, and I've got a routine that I've been working on for a couple of years now. Let me tell you a joke. There were 11 people clinging tightly to a rope which dangled from a helicopter. It became clear to the 11 people on the rope that the rope would not hold 11, that it would only hold 10. And so they tried to figure out a way to democratically get rid of one of them, until finally the one woman of the 11, the one woman spoke up and said, "Well, I have been a woman since birth, and I have sacrificed everything for my husband, for my children, for men in the workplace, for everyone, without ever getting a word of thanks. And so I will sacrifice myself." The speech was so inspiring that all the men spontaneously burst into applause. And that was the end of that. The woman survived. You know, studies have shown that women who carry around a little extra weight live longer than the men who pointed out to them. Other studies have shown that women spend more time wondering what men are thinking than men spend actually thinking. So there's some jokes for you, and I hope you enjoyed the fact that there was an edge to them, but the edge was not necessarily an evil or impertinent edge. You know, you've heard the saying that money talks. Well, I guess it does, but the only thing my money has ever said was, "So long, sucker." I went to the doctor the other day to have me checked for short-term memory. He made me pay in advance. Well, went to the library, picked up a book, Anti-Gravity for Dummies. I still can't put it down. I went to a psychic and knocked on the door, and inside I heard, "Who is it?" Well, I turned around and laughed, because if she didn't know that, she wasn't going to be able to tell me other things that I needed to know. I was addicted to the hokey pokey, but then I turned myself around. I used to have a joke about amnesia, a pretty good joke about amnesia, but I've forgotten it. My niece said, "Uncle Ed, do all fairy tales begin with once upon a time?" "No, Megan," I said. "Some fairy tales begin with, if elected, I promise to." A friend of mine went camping. The sun set, and she stayed up all night wondering what happened to it. And then it dawned on her. I can slow these down if you want. You know what really makes my day? The rotation of the earth. A fellow I know rubbed a magic lamp, and a genie appeared to him and said, "I will give you one wish." The man said, "Oh, I want to be irresistible and undeniably wonderful to women." "Very well. You are a credit card." Anybody Wiccan out there? Are there any Wiccans in the audience? As a matter of fact, I once dated a pair of Wiccans. They were twin sisters, these Wiccan young women, and but I had to give it up because I couldn't figure out which witch was which, and so I broke up with them. And I suspect they put a curse on me because people began to accuse me of being cisphobic. There is a study guide in the chat. I hope someone will take that up. Went shopping the other day looking for camouflage pants. Not a camouflage pants to be seen. While I was downtown, though, I went to that new restaurant, Karma. Have you heard of it? There's no menu. You get what you deserve. It's a nice place. Right next door to it, there was a toy store. And I went in and looked at the new Christmas presents. There's a new doll out. Have you seen it? Divorcee Barbie. It comes with all of Ken's stuff. I have a question for you. What's brown and furry and has 12 paws? That's right. The Three Bears. Well, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. If life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. Howdy, friends. My name is Reverend Ed Stivender of the Church of Partyology. Can you say amen? Can you say party? Can you say party, 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 party? You know, some folks are born storytellers. I like to think of myself as a born-again storyteller. Why, I've been born again so many times, I've got stretch marks on my soul. I was born Roman Catholic, and then I got to roaming around, and I found out about these new religions, joined up with the Hare Krishna religion, only I never did get to meet Harry, and I got disenchanted with all the chanting, so I quit. I tried to become a Presbyterian, but my face kept breaking into a smile, and they asked me to leave. And tried to become a Unitarian, but I found myself believing things, and so I quit. And then I was walking down the train tracks to my commuter train station, Seatcane, Pennsylvania. The train was early, I was late, came up behind me, whooped me up along the side of the head, and I found myself legally dead for 5 minutes. And I've returned, friends, to tell you what the kingdom of heaven is like. The kingdom of heaven is basically like Studio 54. When you die, you get at the end of a big long line. At the front of the line, there's two guys, Jesus Christ, he owns the place, and St. Peter, he's the bouncer. You come up one at a time and they ask you your name. Let me give you a hint. Don't lie. You made it that far. No sense messing up at the last minute. You tell him your name and your social security number. St. Peter types it into the video computer screen, and your whole life flashes before your eyes, as well as the eyes of all the people standing behind you. Everything you've ever done, things you've done in public, things you've done in private, times you picked your nose, everything is on there. After a while, you get a little bit embarrassed. You say to him, Jesus Christ, turn that thing off. But that's okay, because that's his name. He turns it off. He looks you in the eye and asks you the big question about your life on earth. Did you have a good time? If you say to him, no, I had a terrible time. I couldn't get no respect. I couldn't get no satisfaction. The life was hell. I'm glad I'm here. He might say, hey, wait a minute. We got a party going on in here, and you are obviously a party pooper. You got to go to the party pooper room. You go to the party pooper room, and you watch reruns of your life throughout all eternity. If, on the other hand, you say to him, well, Jesus, it was tough sometimes, but I did my best. I partied when I could, and I partied when I couldn't. I made my life good for myself when I could. I made it good for the people around me when I couldn't make it good for myself. He's going to say to you, get inside, because the kingdom of heaven is like a party. They got wonderful music up there. Guy Lombardo thinks every day is New Year's Eve. Another guy named Jim Morrison used to play with the Doors. He's got a new group, the Pearly Gates. Oh, that Garcia fella used to play with the Grateful Dead. He's now playing with the very Grateful Dead. People say to me, hey, Reverend Ed, what's this business about partying? We were always told that partying was wrong. What you're supposed to do is work, 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 work. Hey, where'd you get that idea? Not from the Gospels. That idea comes from the Puritan work ethic. And as luck would have it, it was invented by the Puritans. Bum, 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 bum. We are the Puritans and we hate partying. We left England 'cause there were too many parties. There's an engine partying. Boom, boom, boom. There's another guy partying. He looks Irish to me. Boom. The Puritans, Oliver Cromwell and the boys, invented the Puritan work ethic. Jesus Christ himself did not subscribe to the Puritan work ethic in his own day. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Gospels, you notice something very interesting about Jesus Christ and hard work. He was accused of it twice. He denied it both times. What did he do? Party, 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 party. He partied with the Pharisees, partied with the publicans, partied with the apostles. Night before he died, some people call it the Last Supper. I like to call it the next to the last party because of the one he's got for us now. People say to me, hey, Reverend Ed, did Jesus ever tell a story about partying people? Well, as a matter of fact, he did. You may know this story under a different name. I like to think of it as the partying son. There were two brothers, one who loved to party, 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 party. One who loved to work, 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 work. Well, the one who loved to party was always being criticized by the one who loved to work, until finally he said to his father, Father, give me my inheritance. I want to go down to the Big Olive. That's what they called Babylon at the time. I want to go down to the Big Olive and party, party, party. So his father gave him the inheritance. He went down to Babylon. He partied all the way, all of his money, and he got nothing. He had a job with sanitation crew. They went on strike. He's slopping with the pigs. Finally, he comes to his senses and says to himself, Self, that was his name in Aramaic. Self, might as well go back, work for your brother. At least you get 3 square meals a day. So he starts back. Turns out his father's been waiting on the top of the house to see the son come home. Sees him coming down the road, runs out, hugs the boy, yells to his other son, hey, your brother's back. Wait till I get him. I'm going to wrap this hoe around his neck. No, we're not going to punish the boy. What we're going to do now is party, 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 party. Kill the fatted calf, put rings on his fingers and shoes on his feet, and they had a wonderful party. Well, people say, hey, Reverend Ed, if Jesus loved to party, when did he ever get into the partying mood? Well, he did on the very first day he was born. So, for my final number, I'd like to tell you a story about the first Christmas party in the form of a rap. I call it my Christmas rapping. If you give me a snap, I'll give you a rap. I said, oh, once upon a time, a long time ago, there was a baby born in Bethlehem. He was born in a stable on a dug his dinner table, and the magic men came to visit him. They brought him gold and frankincense and myrrh. They said the boy was going to be a king. Mary just smiled, let him hold the child, but she didn't say anything because she knew who he was, and she knew what he could do. Chaka Khan, nearby there were shepherds abiding in the field. They were keeping a watch on their flock. They looked up to the sky. Their heads began to reel when they saw what they saw. They got quite a shock. 1,000 angels in the sky. I said 1,000 angels singing hidey hi, singing hidey 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 hi. I said a hidey hidey ho. That's your part. Hidey 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 hi. I said a hidey hidey ho. Well, look out. The shepherds came down into the town. Found a little stable still. The drummer boy was there, and so was Santa Claus. With light, the little stable was filled. Well, just then the party started, cause didn't you know it was the very first Christmas day? Well, the drummer hit the drum, and the piper hit the pipes, and everyone began to swing and sway. They were jamming the jive for Jesus, coming in tight on the chorus. They looked up to the angels, said, sing hallelujah for us, and they sang hidey, 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 hi. I said, hidey, hidey, ho, one more time. Hidey, 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 hi. I said, hidey, hidey, ho, well, look out. They gave each other presents, and Santa got some too. Ever since that day, he tries to give his away. I hope he gives some presents to you, singing hidey, 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 hi. I said, hidey, hidey, ho, one last time. Hidey, 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 hi. I said, hidey, hidey, ho. Boy. That's all my time. Thanks for listening.
Woo! Woo! Oh, that was fabulous. Ed Stivender, you are completely and utterly bonkers, and I love it.
Thank you very much. Reminds me of a podcast I've heard about.
Yeah, that's good too, I've heard.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So funny. So
My
funny.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
All
Now,
right,
while we're waiting for the next person, I thought I'm going to try out some British jokes. Well, the clean ones anyway. So I'm going to see whether these go down well or not. I'm not very good at jokes, so just it might not. Why doesn't England have a designated kidney bank? Because they have a Liverpool. What does the Loch Ness Monster call his favourite dish? Fish and chips. Is the rumour about the British people loving queues true? Well, I'll be the first in line to tell you that it isn't. They're pathetic. There you go. Now you know why I'm emceeing and I'm not in the lineup. So, but next up, thankfully for you, the audience, is a multi-talented and overall wonderful person that is Kim Weitkamp. I didn't even know Kim Weitkamp existed before the pandemic, but now I know her really well, quite well. And she would definitely run away if she saw me coming, but she's on Zoom, so she can't run away. So not only is she kind and intelligent and no nonsense and tells it like it is, which I appreciate, but she's genuinely funny. She describes herself as the red-headed middle child of exhausted parents who grew up in Amish country. So that gives you an idea of what she was like. She was a bit like me and she talked too much at school, but she's made a hugely successful career out of it. So what do bloody teachers know, eh? She often is telling stories with people like Bill Lepp and Andy Offer Irwin. She's also a fabulous singer too. Now, I've just bought her new CD. She just had it out and it's called Just Another Day, which is a mixture of songs and singing. Absolutely wonderful. Go to her website and buy it immediately. Now, something you might not know about Kim, and I didn't know about it until recently, is that she's an avid knitter and sewer and things like that. She told me it helped with her ADD. So I thought I would do some knitting as well. But this is only as far as I've gotten. It's taken me 4 months. So don't think I'm quite there yet. Anyway, so she got another whole business based around the knitting, which is called the Secret Stitching Society. So definitely go along. I'd encourage anybody who's a bit crafty or like sewing or wants to sew or is a bit ADD like me, go and check it out. So honestly, really, some people do get a little bit more than their fair share of clever things they can do. So I want to not like Kim, but sadly, I do actually really like her a lot. So let's welcome to our virtual stage, Kim Weitkamp.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Kim.
Claire.
And how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely, Kim. So, Kim, when did you get the first realization that you were funny and could make people laugh?
My parents, when they would have people over for dinner and things, they would go to the den. Do you remember when there were dens? When the paneling in the den?
Well, it's a very American thing, actually.
Station wagon. Yeah. And they would have me I would do Elvis Presley and Barbara Streisand impersonations, believe it or not. And I would do little show, or they'd say, tell them about the time that we went to the beach, and we forgot the luggage. And so then I would tell the story. And then, my mom would say, that's not really how it happened. And then somebody would say, now tell the one about. And I would always be writing little skits and plays and want to perform them. And my dad would be like, because he had to mute the television, to watch. Very supportive parent. And, so that was really the first time, was seeing the responses of my family. And then it amped up pretty hard in school because it truly was a survival mechanism. It was a way that I survived school, was by being funny.
I think lots of us who are funny, it's because we've been bullied or we didn't have friends, and it was a way to get friends, wasn't it? And stop people.
Yeah, I was just friends with everybody. I kept it very surface, and I never sat at lunch. I would go table to table just talking and trying to get people to laugh. I wasn't doing like shtick. It was just conversation, but I loved getting them to laugh. And what it did is it afforded me a lot of friends, but never a really close circle. I love a close circle. I still have a very tight inner circle of friends. So, yeah.
Yeah, we all need friends, don't we?
We
now,
do.
Have you ever done the stand-up, Kim? And if so, tell us about it. Was it any good? Did you bomb?
I didn't bomb. Yeah, I did, but I didn't. So Regina knows about this. So there was a stand-up comedy competition and I got pulled to be in it, which was huge. That alone made me so happy. And then the people who were judging were SNL writers, a guy that was on SNL, a Conan O'Brien writer. Like it was like a panel of 4, and it was hardcore. And so to me, just being in front of them was enough. But I did my thing. It went great. Everybody was laughing. The comments were great. So I felt good about that. But all of them said the same thing. You're a storyteller, not a stand-up comedian. And I finally said, well, I'm a professional storyteller. And that was it. I wasn't going to win. Boom, done. But it was okay because I would do it again in a heartbeat, because after my set, we engaged in conversation for literally like 5 to 6 minutes with those 4 people. I will never get that opportunity again. And I did it because I wanted to go where no one knew me, with this, there's these people here, like there's Misty and Carol and Ed and Regina, you guys know me. And so I wanted to go where maybe I got booed out. I wanted to go where I didn't know anybody. I wanted to stretch muscles I'd not stretched before. I don't want to be a comedian. I'm a storyteller, and I tell a certain way, and I make no apologies for that. But it was a great exercise. Oh my God, it was so freaking awesome. But I didn't win. Yeah.
Excellent.
But it's never bombing if you learn something. And I learned so much because the critique and conversation with them was, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. No, there's a definite thing of start, because I was going to go the stand-up comedy with one point, and then I was very swiftly headed off in the other direction of storytelling, which is so much better because nobody actually expects you to be funny, doesn't it? It's a lovely surprise. Anyway, you're going to give us a lovely surprise now, hopefully, Kim. So everyone sit back, relax, and let Kim Weitkamp do her stuff.
Okay.
Off you go, Kim.
Claire was talking about my new album just another day, and from the pandemic, I really had, during that lockdown time, it was a great opportunity to go in a different direction. Everybody in life, because everything stopped, really, I think, evaluated, and a lot of people came out and either resigned, retired, and just took a different direction or left their job for something else. I mean, they even called it the Great Resignation. I realized that I am exactly where I should be, and I realized that the thing I love most about telling stories is the interaction with people, the give and the take of the conversation. And so that album is about people I've met on the road, just freaking amazing people. And there's one person I met on the road, and that's what this story is about. Let me check my time. So I had just come out of a 30-year marriage. And it is tough coming out of a 30-year marriage. I was headed to 50, and I was at the point, coming out of a divorce when your body is at clearance rack level and the tag is hanging off your neck is never a place that you want to find yourself, because that's what you have to offer. You're just thinking, really, I have to get back out there and this is what I have. Hot flashes and the map of Canada on my chest every morning when I wake up. But there I was. And I actually had decided when I landed in Asheville, North Carolina, because I moved away from where he lived. I was sitting in a little basement apartment of a folk musician's house. I was renting a basement apartment. And I sat there and I just kind of made a vow. I'm never getting married again. I'm never, ever getting married again. But something began to happen. Over a period of time, I went from enjoying the luxuriousness of solitude. I got really crazy after my divorce. I kind of went off the edge, getting wild. I would stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning reading Robert Service and listening to Icelandic music. And that was my crazy. And it was freaking phenomenal. I'm not going to lie. I would drink a bottle of wine, read a Robert Service poetry, and just listen to that Icelandic music. And as though that was extremely enjoyable and I was traveling and performing, I began to have serious urges to buy plants, lots of plants, because I traveled. They had to be succulents or cactuses. And I would go on the road for 3 weeks or so because I had no boundaries. Obviously, I could just go as long as I wanted. And I'd come home and even they would be dead. And when you are less nurturing than a desert, you need counseling. So I did seek out counseling. But the urge to have plants and then the urge to start adopting cats began. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm wanting to fill my little apartment with cats and plants. Maybe I'm not meant to be alone. And so one time I was headed back into Asheville after being on the road for a while and pulled off into an overlook on 24. It's beautiful. Got out my journal. I have millions of them. I have 2 sitting here now. And I got out my journal and I wept, and I was like, had one of those moments and wrote. And then I made a deal with God because, isn't that what we do? And I said, okay, here's the deal. Maybe I'm not supposed to be alone. So if I'm not supposed to be alone, I want to get it right the second time. So I'm going to write a list and I need you to make sure I get everything on that list and walk that person right up to me, because I am not going to date. I fall in love with people so easily. Oh my God. If I'd have one night stands, I would have been married within a week. I'm in love. I'm in love with people immediately. So I'm like, you have to walk them up to me and they have to have all of the things on this list. And so I kind of tucked it away, left the mountain, and went on with my life. And about 4 months later, I was doing a show in Culpeper, Virginia. And this gentleman came out and he said, I'd like to buy one of each of your albums. And the little elder ladies that were watching the table, you know. And I said, oh, wow. Okay. So I sold him all of my albums. And he said, would you like to go to dinner? And I said, if you think that you can just buy all my albums and I'll go to dinner with you, you are correct. And so actually what I said to him was no. And he said, why? And I said, I'm not available. And he said, well, I don't see a ring. And I said, well, I'm under repair. And he leaned in and said, well, I heard it's good to fix something with the help of two people. Oh, playa. And I said, well, I just need you to know that the undercarriage is locked. And he said, excuse me? I said, the undercarriage is locked. And if that's what you're looking for, then you need to move along. And this is when I knew I was in trouble, because he threw his head back. He laughed loud, just uninhibited. It filled the lobby, and the little crinkles from the laughter reached all the way to his eyes, which is a sign. Well, he left and I got back to work. And the next day I had other shows there at the same theater. And sure enough, he showed up again and he asked me to dinner. So I went. Now, I was on the road for quite a while, and he lived 4.5 hours away. And so everything in the beginning of our relationship was by phone. And he said, listen, if you're ever up this way, give me a call and pop in. He said, I'd love to see you in person, because we'd been talking a lot. Well, I was headed his way, and I called him and I said, hey, I'm going to be near you by 3 hours. And I really just like to pop in quick. And he said, that'd be great. So I pulled into the driveway. He came out from his wood shop. One of the things on my list was must be a woodworker. And because have you ever met a mean woodworker? There's no such thing as a mean, and they appreciate old things, right? I like that. And he had wood shavings all over him because he'd been in his wood shop. And I'm like, ooh, check, check. And he said, hey, you look good. I said, thank you. He said, did you bring casual clothing? I said, well, as a matter of fact, I did. He said, well, go put them on. He said, come on, I'll take you in the house. So we went in the house. He showed me where I'd be staying. And I got dressed in my casual, comfortable clothing and came out. And he said, all right, good job. He said, come outside with me. And I went outside and he said, we're going to lay mulch. And I looked over, and that's when I realized that his truck bed was full of mulch. And I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, well, okay. Not what I expected, but okay. Well, we spent the whole evening until it got dark laying mulch. And at the end of the night, when the night sounds had started, we sat on the back of his truck drinking cold Leinenkugels. And I thought, man, you know, that was actually fun. And if I can have fun laying mulch, there might be a possibility of something good here. And he looked at me and he said, well, what did you think? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, what did you think about laying mulch? And I said, well, I guess it was good. And he said, good, good. Well, that's the way of my people. It's the way we are up here. We work hard. And I said, listen, you're telling me, just answer me. You considered that a date? And he said, yeah. And I said, good. And I stuck out my hand and he shook it. And he said, why are you shaking my hand? I said, because if you consider that a date, I consider this sex. And so I went to bed, and the next day I left. And a few weeks later, I was back in his area. And I gave him a call, and he said, please pop in. I said, absolutely. So I popped in, and he told me he might not be at the house during gardens and chicken pens and a hog pen and all that good stuff. And when I walked out, there he was. He had a sign above the garden that said Garden of Whedon. And he was barefoot in the garden, which I still find sexy. And he was on his knees planting. And around the garden, I noticed that there were flats and flats and flats and flats of little plants. And he looked at me when I came out into the clearing and said, man, you look good. Did you bring comfortable clothing? I went up and changed and came back down. And I was in charge of lettuce, butter lettuce, farmer's blend, red lettuce, all the good lettuces. That was my job. And at the end of the night, after we kind of cleaned up and had dinner, he said, well, what did you think? And I said, about what? He said, about working in the garden. I said, I'm fine with that. I said, I grew up in Amish country. This is not unfamiliar to me. It's good, good. He said, that's the way of my people. We work hard. Well, I left the next day and I gave my sister Holly a call and I said, listen, I want to ask you something. I said, I'm really falling for this guy. I said, but the question I have is this. Every time I go to visit him, he makes me work. And she goes, oh, he's testing you. And I said, he's testing me. What do you mean? She goes, he's testing you. He must really like you. He wants to make sure that you can hang, that you can keep up the pace, that you're a hard worker. You told me the kind of life he lives. And I said, he's testing me. How interesting. Well, I went back not long after that. I pulled in and there were 2 trucks in the driveway, both filled with stone. And I walked right into the house. His friend Jim was there. And I said, let me guess, put on my comfortable clothing. He said, no, no, no. He said, you're just going to drive and he's going to push it out. I'm going to spread it. You don't have to do anything else. I said, okay, all right, that's fine. And so that's what I did that whole afternoon into early evening. Stop. I'd stop the truck. They'd yell, go. I'd go. When we were done, we were sitting in the living room and he said, good. He said, I'm really glad that you came today. You were a big help. And I said, well, I'm glad I could be a help. He goes, well, what did you think about it? I said, no, 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 no. I said, listen, before you asked me what I thought about working today, even though it was just driving the truck, I have a present for you. And he said, you have a present for me? I said, yes, I have a present for you. I said, I wrote you a song. He said, you did? I said, yes, I did. And so this is the song that I sang him, that I wrote him as a gift. I thought I was your only darling, silly me. I stopped by without warning, silly me. Well, I guess I should have phoned, but I knew that you were home. I thought you'd be alone, silly me. I ignored Becky's Ford, silly me. Walked right up to your door, silly me. Well, I guess I should have knocked, but it was unlocked. Was I in for a shock? Silly me. Silly me. Oh, silly me. I guess I lost touch with reality. Oh, to think someone like you could ever love a fool like silly, silly me. Well, I must have lost my head, silly me. I went and shot you dead, silly me. Thought I was justified, but they call it homicide. And tomorrow I will fry, silly me. Silly me, oh silly me. I guess I lost touch with reality. Oh, to think someone like you could ever love a fool like silly, silly me. Oh, a fool like silly, silly me. And I looked at him and I said, well, what did you think? And he said, well, that's a very aggressive song. And I said, well, that's the way of my people. 8 years. And that's the story of how I met my husband on the road. Thanks, everybody.
Woo! Oh, that was great, Kim. Thank you. And not only hilarious and funny, but also music and singing. You and Ed, a rap and a lovely song. Gosh, can't believe it. How fabulous. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love the my undercarriage is locked. That's so funny. There were so many funny lines in there. Oh, I have to go back and listen to it again. Thank you very much. Now, everybody on YouTube, I see that we've got Bonnie Gardner, we've got Alan DeBay, we've got Angela Lloyd, we've got some others, but I had to come off because I had to keep the bandwidth down. So welcome to everybody I haven't said. So pleased you're here. So now we've got a couple more jokes for me. Now, if you don't know, in England, we tend to make jokes out of really sad situations and they're kind of tasteless, but that's so that we don't have to feel too many feelings because we can't have our stiff upper lip wobbling now, can we? So I've got a few bad taste jokes about the Queen and the royal family, but I'm allowed to because it's like family. They're my family. So you're only allowed to take the mickey out of your own family. So why are there forecasts of drought in England? Because the Queen's reign has ended. What did President Biden say after he was informed that the Queen had died? That's a shame. I really like their music. Why doesn't any member of the royal family go to Starbucks? They don't have an option for royal tea. And then my last one, what do Elvis and the Queen have in common? They both died on the throne. There we go. Enough horrible jokes for that. So let's get our next performer up very quickly, Carol Moore. Now, Carol Moore is completely hilarious. I was first introduced to her back in, I think it was 2021 at the Women's Storytelling Festival put on by Better Said Than Done. But she's not only funny, but she's an excellent storyteller. She's really good. We actually had her on our show, Moments of Grace, which again, that's free on our YouTube. That was such a fantastic show. Really remarkable. Go back, listen to it, listen to Carol's story, and all of them are just brilliant. Now, Carol does a ton of things, such as public speaking coach. She teaches TEDx speakers. She's won the Moth Story Slam, as well as being much in demand for her storytelling. But she's also doing these really funny, short little videos on Instagram. So go and find Little Miss Lightbeam, because I highly recommend. She just does really funny things, just short little videos, and they really cheer me up. So go and follow her on that. So let's come and bring up to our virtual stage, Carol Moore.
Thanks, Claire. Hey.
Hi, Carol. And how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. My face hurts from the first half of the show. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going through just a myriad of emotions over here. But for the most part, my face is just like cracking up. Cool.
I know it's getting worse as you go on. You've got more and more pressure to follow that, haven't you?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah.
So, Cal, tell us, when did you have the first realization that you were funny and can make people laugh? And I hope you weren't getting bullied at school as well.
Oh, well, then you want me to find a different answer? Like, it was definitely high school, but it wasn't because I was being bullied. It's because we were all dorks and we all had the same kind of humor. It was a very small private school, and we liked to study for fun. So that's when I thought I was funny, just because everybody else was laughing. I didn't realize other normal people thought I was funny until college. And I used it to shamelessly flirt, because you don't want to face rejection. But if it's a joke, if he laughs, then you're like, that's how I meant it. But if he agrees, then you've won. So it was a strategy. It did not really pan out, but it felt good at the time.
Excellent. A dating strategy. I didn't think about it like that, but well done. Now, tell us a little bit more about these Instagram videos you did. Why did you start? And tell us just share with us a bit more about the subject matter and why you're doing them.
Sure. So it was by mistake. Instagram used to just be photos, and then there were videos. They introduced their stories. Instagram stories vanish in 24 hours. And I thought, yes, that's low pressure. I can do that. And I would just kind of try it out. And then honestly, TikTok happened, and I'm too old to be deep into TikTok. However, it's short form content, and you can play around with your humor. You can try subject matters, and then you can just delete it all. Long form content is pressure. It's who really wants to sit down and come up with a set and perform it in front of just people you don't know for 15 minutes or so. It feels kind of heavy a little bit. But online, Instagram, it's 15 seconds to 60 seconds that I can do.
Well, they're great. They're really funny. Make me laugh. Good. So no pressure then. You just got your 15 minutes with people you don't know. Okay, everyone sit back and we'll just let Carol entertain us. Off you go, Carol.
Thank you. I just have to start this way. This is not what I planned, but Ed was rapping. Listen to me. Nobody was ready for Ed to rap, okay? Nobody, including myself. Now, I grew up in a Baptist church. I am a Christian. We ain't have that going on, okay? It was a very vocal church. Hallelujah, won't he do it? Amen. Not the Shaka Khan. I don't know, okay? That is not how we praise the Lord. But that was awesome. And one of the things that they did teach us in church, a really big like pillar, was if you have any questions or you need anything, you go to the Bible. The Bible has instructions for you. Anything that you need, pretty much start there when you're living this life. And so that works for, a few things, not for dating. The Bible does not really help you out when you are trying to date. Now, I am no Reverend Ed, and I did not go to seminary. So the next 15 minutes, I'm going to need your patience, but I'm just going to explain to you what I think the Bible got going on, and then we can just talk a little bit later. I don't have a set. When we're in moments like this, I just like to just chit chat, okay, and get your opinion on some stuff because you seem, valuable, and I appreciate you. So to my understanding, the Bible has like three main kind of things going on. You got your commandments, right? They're your rules. They're your biggies. They really kind of are very clear about what to do with life kind of things. Like, hey, don't kill nobody. Okay. Like Kim talking about, I shot you dead. And I was like, I wonder if she's familiar with that. But I realized it was foreshadowing for that. Then you have your Proverbs, and there's a whole book in the Bible devoted to Proverbs. They're like your nuggets of wisdom, like your advice, like, hey, don't argue with a foolish person. If somebody's stupid, don't talk to them. That's solid advice, solid. And then there's the majority of the Bible is full of stories, and two different types of stories. You have your parables, kind of like your fables, examples, right? And then you have your true stories. Now, the Bible technically was like Hulu before there was Hulu. Okay, before we had streaming services, what you needed was literally in there. I'm talking true crime stories. We're talking war, blood, gore, guts. Okay, you also had plenty of underdog stories, plenty of people to root for. And then you had these scandalous stories, full of scandal. And so that's kind of like the places you can check to get the information you need. So lo and behold, you may not know this about me, but I haven't had a lot of success when it comes to dating. I've taken a lot of L's. I have had a lot of it's not been good. Okay, so I said, I know what's going on. I need to check the Bible first. Now, Kim wrote a list, and that seemed to work out well for her. And I want you to know that when we finish here, I shall be going to write a list. Thank you so much, girl. 8 years. Yeah, I'm going to try that because I've tried other things. They haven't panned out. So when I looked at the Bible for guidance on dating, I started with the commandments, the biggies. And I looked through, it's 10 of them. It didn't take long. And then I saw one. It was like, hey, don't commit adultery. And I get, okay, but that's for marriage, essentially, right? It's like when you say I do, it's I do, you. I'm saying like I do you, but just you, but I do to you, you. That's great if I were married. I'm not there. I'm trying to get there. So that wasn't the most helpful. And then I looked at the Proverbs, and there's a chapter 31, Proverbs 31, and it talks about this kind of like godly woman, like the ideal like wife. And it's like, a godly woman, she gets up early in the morning. Now, again, that's about marriage, but I'm not a morning person. And I thought if this is going to be what stands in my way, I might as well go ahead and get them cats she was talking about, because I don't do early at all. So that wasn't too helpful as far as advice. But then I got to the stories, and I went through a few, and I found one that was promising, a little promising. It was about this guy who was on the run, bit of a bad boy on the run. And on his journey, he sees a woman, and he goes, "Oh, she fine. I want her." So he goes, talks to her dad, and says, "You know what? I'm going to work for you for 7 years. Don't pay me. But in exchange, I'm trying to marry your daughter," right? It's like a love story because the Bible's got love. And I thought, some things about that feel problematic. Like, oh, you think you can buy a woman? But then I took two things from it. Number one, that man was willing to give up 7 annual salaries for her. You know what I'm saying? And so while I don't like a bride price, I feel like we should bring that back. Hear me out. I feel like instead of saying, hey girl, you look good, let me buy you a latte, maybe it's, hey girl, you look good, let me buy you a beach house. I don't need your sheep and your cattle, but I can use your stocks and your bonds. All right. And back in that day, they would go and talk to the father. I'll tell you what, my daddy is busy. All right. I'm almost 37. Come talk to me. Bring me the stuff and we can negotiate on behalf. And while I don't like you buying me, you're not buying me, but you know, I can take your stuff. So I feel like I would have more success. Because I'm sure enough not going to show up to a date and work like 2-3 times in a row. God bless you, Kim. Not that. So that's one thing I thought, well, we're doing it wrong. That's a good idea. But secondly, I said, ooh, this could be helpful. That man was on a journey and he saw her. He was outside and he saw her minding her business. I said, okay, cool. But it's a pandemic and I'm specifically being told to stay inside. So I can't really do that, but we're doing everything virtually. So surely there are some virtual streets I can get into. I can virtually get outside and you guessed it, online dating. Here we go. So I thought I will get into online dating. I'm going to pick the right app. And it took about 4 tries, but I landed on OkCupid because I thought, you know, okay, Cupid. And I built my profile. Now, I tried to make this an accurate representation of the person that I am. I'm multi-layered and multifaceted and super complicated, but I'm really sweet. And I wanted that to be in these 6 pictures that they gave me. They included things like there was one picture, I was in like a pink tutu with a bodysuit, and I was given like America's Next Top Model. It's like, ooh, she's fierce and a little mysterious. Right. And then there was one where I was in a mask with a friend at a masquerade party. And it's like, oh, she's fun. Look at her. She's got friends. And then there was one where I was winking and pointing with some thumbs, like, because it's like, oh, she's a dork. You need to know she's a dork. And so that was a few of the photos. I thought I did a great job representing the whole person that I am. I'm not going to take you through the men who decided to stop by my house on their journey in the street. I'm not going to take you through some of the spectacles, okay? Because you're better than that, and I don't want that for you. But I will say, there was one man who knocked on my virtual door. His name was Ty, 42, never been married, no kids, great job, worked a lot, which I loved because I work a lot too. He was handsome enough. I mean, he only had one picture, which I had to be gracious in that, love my neighbor as myself, because I had spent time picking out 6 pictures. Okay, Ty just had one. Was it lazy? Was it efficient? I didn't know. He was a great guy and he was pretty responsive. His subject verb agreement was, you know, decent enough because as the dork that I am, I need you to have an extensive lexicon and to know the parables of basic English language. Anyway, so we talked for a little bit, a couple weeks, and it was really cool. And then he said, can I call you? So he called me. Our very first conversation was an hour long. Nice. And then every conversation we had after that was at minimum an hour. And I thought, this is feeling real Old Testament, right? Like any minute he's going to show up with some goats. Like, this is going really well. And then he says, I would love to spend some time with you in person. And this was post-vaccinations and things like that. So I said, okay. And he planned a date for us, or he picked a day a month in advance. He planned a month in advance. And so that's how I knew I was like the only one on his radar, right? I'm his focus. And that was beautiful because I was busy anyway. And that's first free time I had. Neither here nor there. But he said, Carol, we can do whatever you want to do. So I said, let's go to an arcade. Let's like have a good time. Just being playful and light and fun and getting to know one another. It was going really well until the day of. We took just like a slight turn. It's like a baby turn. The day of. He texted me about 2 hours before the date should begin. And he said, Carol, I'm going to need to push it back. I got caught up in work and I have a meeting. So can we meet at 4 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock? Sure. That's enough notice. I haven't left the house, of course. And then he says, now I'm in a t-shirt and some jeans and tennis shoes, okay? So I'm not dressed up at all. Don't go getting dressed up. Don't embarrass me. Okay, maybe that's like an insecurity thing. It didn't feel nice, but I'm gonna be cool. Okay, I'm gonna be cool because that feels real rude. But we got there and it was okay. It wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be. And of course, all this time I'm thinking about the man in the Bible on his journey, and he saw that lady and she was just really into it, everybody into it. Romantic comedies have told you that you should be able to fall in love in roughly 2.5 hours. And me and this man have had at least 6 hours on the phone. So we should be close to marriage by now. He should propose by the end of the date. I'm not rushing him or anything. I'm just saying. So we get there and we play some games. We play a game that has ping pong balls and little squares of a light, and the ball has to hit the light and you get points and everything. And so you could play separately and together. We did both and we had a great time. We were really fun, and people would stop and they'd watch us. And our scores were, I'm a little up and he's a little up, and it's lots of fun. And we're like, oh, this is great, which is nice. And then we go play air hockey, and we played 3 games, best 2 out of 3. Well, with air hockey, I won. I'm an athlete. I'm gonna just leave that there, okay? As an athlete, I'm not gonna tone down my game for anybody. And if you're gonna marry me and give me your sheep, you need to know who I am. So if I win, I win. Just be better. I don't know. So after that, he's like, and he's a little bothered, but I can see him trying to shake it off. He shakes his head and puts his hands in his pockets, like something landed on him, like spider webs or something. He's trying to kind of shake it off. And then we go to play basketball. And basketball was the whole reason I picked the arcade, because he said the one thing he missed the most during the pandemic was playing ball outside. They had shut down all the courts. Now, as my future husband and as a wife, okay, Proverbs taught me that I'm supposed to make clothes and get up early, which I can't, but I need to listen to people and be predictive in this way. And so I thought this is going to be a great first date. It's going to give me a lot of points. And so we go and we play basketball and we both shoot. They're side by side hoops and we shoot. He gets a score in the 40s or something. I get something in the 20s, something like that. And he's like, man, it's been so long. I said, me too. It's been a long time. He's like, you want to go again? Sure. So we play again and I win. And now we're tied. He's like, oh, it's the tiebreaker. And if the tiebreaker comes and, I win. And he's like, well, yeah, I got to get, used to it. Okay, well, best 3 out of 5. Sure. So we play again and we're playing and sure enough, I win. I think I have too many balls. I think because they're coming too fast. I said, oh, I'll take one if you want. So we play. I don't think I have enough balls. They're coming too slow. So you can have one of mine. There you go. And then he goes 5 out of 7. Shoot 5 out of 7. Okay. And we play 5 out of 7. And you're smart. You've been paying attention. What happened? I won. This man could not take it. He was sweating. Now his cap is backwards. His shirt's laying a little weird. And then he looked at me and he said, you cheated. There's some, I don't know how you did it, but you cheated. And I said, I've been shooting the same as you. Now, at this point, I can't be cute anymore. I cannot be loving. I'm not thinking about our children. I'm about to fight you because how dare you have the audacity to accuse me, as cute as I am, of cheating just to win. Don't be mad, be better. That's what I said, be better. And then I punched him in the face. I did not, nor did I say that to his face, but inside, I did all those things. What I did was, because that's the geek part, that's the awkward part. But you know what I did do? I did not talk to that man anymore. He tried to text me. He tried to call me. I did not answer. He tried to go out again. I did not reply. And he would text me time after time, asking me how my day was, asking me about my sick grandmother in the hospital, or hoping that I did well with the new job, and then asking me how well I slept because I was having insomnia. And then he told me I had a really great laugh and how he had so much fun with me. And maybe I should look at what the Bible says about ghosting people, because I feel like I might have fumbled on that one, but I've got enough to worry about. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. Thank you.
Oh, Carol, that was absolutely hilarious. Honestly, I cannot believe that you don't get like bombarded with people wanting to date you. You're gorgeous. Don't get mad, get better. I love that. I'm going to employ that. Not that I need to date, but just every time I beat him as something, don't get mad, get better. Happiness. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. And how's everyone doing out in the wide YouTube world? Is your pelvic floor still intact? Good, good, good. I'm hoping so. I've got a final 2 jokes, but it may just push you over the edge. The chef made sure he took a tour of all the bakeries in England. He didn't want to leave a single scone unturned. If they were going to make a British food version of Game of Thrones, they'd name it Game of Scones. And finally, my final joke, how many Brexiteers does it take to change a light bulb? 1 to promise a brighter future and the rest to screw it up. Wish they so did. Okay, on to our 4th and final performer of the night. And it's none other than my lovely co-producer and business partner, Regina Stoops. Now, as some of you might be aware, I hardly knew Regina before the pandemic. We'd met through like a mutual friend, Mary Karuba, and I saw them both when they toured in their Better Than Therapy tour. And I thought at the time that not only was she extremely funny, but I wanted to go out for a drink with her because she seemed so nice and get to know her better. Looks can be deceiving, don't you think? Also, be careful what you wish for, because now I can't bloody well get rid of her. She's there the whole time. I've known far too much about her than I ever did before. So let me tell you about Regina's stand-up, because she is known as my co-producer and a storyteller, and I don't let her out very often. So she has actually been performing stand-up professionally for over 20 years. And she's recently moved into storytelling because she thought it was a really good way to overshare some of the more intimate details of her mad, crazy life. Now, she's performed at the Luther Burbank Centre, which is why I saw her. She's done the Pride Comedy Show. She's done so many theatres all over the Bay Area, I couldn't be bothered to name them all. She's also performed at San Francisco's most famous place for comedy, Cobb's Comedy Club, which is actually quite a thing. She was awarded the Irma Bombach Humour Writer of the Month, which coincidentally was how this show came about, because her and Kim got talking after, Kim was saying about Irma's Got Talent open mic. But the best thing about Regina for me is that she totally gets my British sense of humour, and now she swears like a true born Brit, peppering her speech with words like sodding and bloody, loo and blimey, and they're just the ones I can say now. 6 Feet Apart Productions would not be what it is there without her total creativity and attention to detail. A little bit too much detail, I would say sometimes, but anyway, let's welcome to our stage lovely Regina Stoops. Hi, Regina. Regina,
Hello,
how are you doing?
How are ya?
And what's it like being my guest now?
I know. I'm on the other end of it.
I
I don't
know.
know.
Are you
I'm a little
scared?
nervous.
Yes, I would be. I'm going to be nice. So you've got to answer the same question. When did you first realize that you were funny and can make people laugh?
Well, I come from a long line of just smart asses, my entire family. And so that was kind of the base of my humor, I think. And in my family, you really just had to be, we always try to one up the humor of the other person. But then I remember it was, I went to a Club Med in Ixtapa, Mexico, and they had like talent night, and somebody was like, "Oh, you should get up and do some comedy." And I thought, "Oh, okay, why not?" So I did, and it was great. And one of the performers that was there, Diane Amos, some of you may know her, she's a very funny woman, said, "Oh, you should come to some open mics in the city." So I did, and then the rest is history, as they say.
You know, I didn't know that. Excellent. See, we learn something new every day. Now, you are a bit of an overachiever when it comes to your comedy, though, because you've got your own comedy logo, haven't you?
I
Hopefully
do.
the tech guru is going to show it. Normal. It says normal. So tell us all about this logo and how you came up with it and why you, in any way, you think you're normal.
Yeah. Well, because I was actually born and raised in a town called Normal. Normal, Illinois is my birthplace. I grew up there, went to Normal High School, a lot of pressure. And so as my comedy evolved and my life evolved, I came up with this sticker to kind of, it was all the facets of my life. I joke that I have so many causes. I don't have enough room on my bumper for all the ribbons, so I have to have my own logo. So it's, clearly it's the N is the gay pride, a soccer mom, which I am. The R is like the picket fence in the suburbs because I live in the suburbs. And then there's the Catholic part, which is the church, and the little ribbon, which has a donkey in it for Democrat, if you could see it, or actually it's the L. And then the ribbon is autism because I'm a special needs parent. My oldest son, Ryan, has autism. And then so that was the logo to begin with. And then, it wasn't enough. God was like, you need to add something to that logo. So guess what? I'm going to give you multiple sclerosis. So let's just add an MS to the corner of the N. And so that's rounded it out. And I'm hoping, God, please, let's just let that stay as it is. So that's my normal logo. Anybody want a coffee mug or a bumper sticker? Yeah, go to my website, which is Regina Stoops Comedy. It's on Facebook. And there's a button that says shop, and you can buy a variety of things with the logo on it.
And Regina now lives in Pleasanton.
I do.
That's the best thing, from Normal to Pleasanton.
Right?
So
like
funny.
I said, I'm far from normal, right? But I'm pumped.
So far from normal. Gone pleasant. All right, then, I'm going to shut up talking. I'm going to give the stage over to you for the first time in quite a long time. So off you go, Regina Stoops.
Thank you, Claire. So, hey, thank you, everyone. Hello. Great show so far. I'm having a wonderful time. I don't know if I will ever get that rap out of my head. Ed, thank you so much for that. Didn't see that coming either, Carol. You're absolutely right about that. Great show. I hope everybody's having a good time. Remember, 2-drink minimum and tip your wait staff because they're working hard tonight. And, a lot of storytellers don't like doing virtual shows. And I get it, right? Because you don't get any reaction from the audience. And I understand that because I'm used to being able to look my audience right in the eye and not get any reaction. So this is a little strange for me, but the silver lining in all of this is that when I'm doing a virtual show, I turn off the Wi-Fi. So I suck all the Wi-Fi from the house, and my teenage sons just are livid because they can't do whatever they do when they have Wi-Fi. And there's not very many ways I can bug them now. And so this is really a silver lining for me to be able to just control the Wi-Fi. And as I said, so I do have 3 kids. My wife, Diane, and I have 3 children that are all spaced within 4 years of each other. We're Catholic. And and when I say that we have these kids, what I meant is Diane actually gave birth to the kids and I'm a stay-at-home mom. So that seemed like a good trade-off. And they call Diane mommy for, obvious reasons. And they call me Oma, which, yes, I know now means grandmother in German. We thought it meant other ma in lesbian. And apparently we had the wrong gay to English dictionary. I don't know. But here's a hint. If you know anybody that is thinking of having kids, just get somebody else to have them for you because it streamlines the process. It really does. And take the drugs, take them early, take them often. I started taking them in the first trimester, just, to kind of take the edge off a little bit. Now, they say having kids makes you feel young. It doesn't. It makes you feel old. I mean, I've done the math. I'm going to be shopping for back to school clothes using my AARP card. And I think it's sad when you can't tell your kids apart without your glasses on. It's like, buddy, you are in such big, back up a few feet, because I'm not, honey, is this one of ours? I can't quite tell. My kids think I'm a dinosaur, right? They think I'm completely uncool, dinosaur. Somehow we got a hold of a Yellow Pages book. Remember those? There's actually one on the front bench. They were still handing them out a few years ago. And my kids were just fascinated by this. And they looked through it and I had to explain it to them. And suddenly my son, like the light bulb went off and he's like, it's like Google in a book. I said, well, I guess it is. And then he asked me if I ever got in trouble in middle school for talking on the telephone in class. And I said, no, because I didn't have a cord that was 2 miles long. Now, technology is a tricky thing. Smartphones don't make you smart. I'm very disappointed to find that out. And sometimes not being very tech savvy can get you in trouble. Case in point, my son, then 11 years old, he wanted a phone and we kept saying, no, you can't have a phone because we're horrible, evil parents. And he kept insisting he was the only 11-year-old on the face of the earth that didn't have a phone. And so, kids are born salespeople. All right. They wear you down and they don't take no. If you say no 52 times, they're coming back for the 53rd time. And if you show just a hesitation, just a bit of a hesitation, boom, you're done for. So we gave in I gave him an old phone that didn't have a data plan, but had Wi-Fi. So every day he could once again tell me that school was out at 3:03 as it had been the day before and would be the day coming. So this all worked out really well until the day he called. I'm running a little late and I step out of the shower and I answer the phone and I look at the phone and I realize I can see my just showered upper body in the upper right corner. And apparently I am now live streaming to my son at his middle school. So I hurl the phone across the room and I go face down on the bed and I scream, I'm on my way. And then I sort of do this roll off the bed and then I army crawl across the floor and hit the disconnect button. And I'm driving to the school and I'm wondering what is going to be there waiting for me. Is there going to be like some child protective service people or just a group of guys standing around my son wondering when the crazy lady is going to roll up in the minivan? But thankfully, when I rolled up, my son was completely oblivious to what had happened. Thanks to the glitchy Wi-Fi at my son's middle school, I did not make a debut as a cougar mom on that particular day. So yay. I'm really glad the bond measure never passed and they never got that upgrade for the technology. That's all I can say. So Diane and I, we have been, and a lesson. So I have to say, don't ever, ever, ever step out of the shower and answer the phone. That's just common sense that I now have. I didn't have then. So Diane and I, we have been together 32 years. In fact, today is our anniversary. Thank you. I know you're all clapping. Today is the anniversary, 32 years, and which is like 114 in heterosexual terms. I don't know if you know that. She asked me what I wanted for Christmas. I said a white sweater. Simple request. And when I opened the box, I pulled out a sweater that had this sort of black geometric southwestern print on it and was a color I can only describe as creme de menthe. And I was initially stunned, and then I just laughed out loud because once again, she had shown her true color outside the lines, details be damned, true nature. And she was so proud that she'd remembered sweater, but blissfully unaware of the color request. Diane's, free spirit is the counterpoint to my sort of planning and stability, and our opposite personalities have been there from the beginning and became even more evident when we had kids. And the kids have figured this out because I showed the sweater to my 10-year-old at the time, and he looked at me and kind of shrugged in that, that's mommy kind of way. And then my 8-year-old said, well, maybe mommy thought it was opposite day. Once when I was leaving to go away for a week, I was going to go back to normal and visit my parents. And my son said, well, who's going to take care of us? And I said, well, honey, I'm going by myself. Mommy's going to be here. And he looked at me with like horror on his face and said, no, who is going to take care of us, like feed us and take us to school? I said, well, honey, you're going to have to remind mom, apparently. And another time we're sitting around the table and my son, Jack, he says, oh, my tongue kind of hurts when I eat. I think it's from trying to get the duct tape off my mouth last night. I'm like, why did you have duct tape on your mouth, Jack? Well, we were playing a new game with mommy called Duct Tape Escape. And at that moment, I look at Diane with that, what were you thinking, spousal look. And she's like talking in paragraphs, trying to explain to me what happened. And apparently they started out, as the name implies, putting duct tape on and then trying to escape. And it just spiraled out of control from there. And my oldest son, Ryan, sensing that mommy was swimming in dangerous waters, as it were, said, it was a lot of fun until I pulled it off and it took the hair off my leg. But the kids know their parents. They know that if they wanted to turn the bunk beds into a pirate ship and sail away, they needed to talk to pirate mommy. But if they wanted to be fed or they were sick or they needed help with their homework, then I was the go-to gal. So, it was a good balance. Saturday mornings were deemed pancake party time with mommy, and I joined in a few of them, but I was completely frustrated by the lack of planning and procedure and just the flour and syrup flying around the kitchen. And I quickly realized that I was just sucking the fun vibe out of the whole thing. And if I couldn't get on board with the chaos that was going on, I just needed to get out of the house, which is what I did. And because, if you can't jump on that crazy train, you gotta know enough to just get out of the way. Yeah, in every relationship, there's the yin and the yang. If I had married myself, I'd have a closet full of white sweaters. And the kids would never eat pancake in my very carefully planned out life. And rather than look before I leap, I just took a leap of faith and never looked back. And I have no doubt that my careful planning and attention to detail drives her crazy at times. But I also know that she really appreciates that the laundry's done, the groceries are bought, the kids are taken to the doctor when needed and delivered to school on time, dinners are on the table. And I really appreciate that after all of these years, Diane thinks that I could totally rock a cream de mint sweater. Thank you.
Woo! Excellent. Oh, so that's why we've given Regina some airtime, because she's so funny. Love it, love it, love it. That was fantastic. And what an utterly hilarious evening of fun. I haven't laughed so much in ages, which is a bit scary from a pelvic floor. So I'm very glad that I am virtual and not in person. Otherwise, that would be a little embarrassing. Now, I'd like to thank all our tellers. So I'm going to bring them back on one at a time, and then we can find out what they've got coming up. So first of all, let's bring back the wonderful and lovely Ed Stivender. Hi, Ed. Thank you so much. I loved it. Lovely. You are the rapper extraordinaire. So tell us where you are going to be singing next.
I will be singing on the steps of the courthouse in Jonesboro, Tennessee, where usually on the Saturday of Jonesboro, there is a fringe festival, and I'll be doing that. I'll also be emceeing the storytelling festival. I'll be appearing with the Better Said Than Done.
You're not allowed to mention them, sorry.
Yes,
you can.
On the 13th of October, which for all you Catholics know that's my feast day, October 13th, Feast of St. Edward the Confessor. And I'll be doing it for that. And then doing Morris dancing on Mummers Day, January 1st.
You're still doing Morris dancing. Look at you go.
Yes,
aren't you marvelous?
Yes. And
Keeps
we
you young, eh?
in the Mummers Parade.
Well, very good. Lovely. Right, let's bring back Kim. see what Kim's got coming up. She's another one just as busy as you. So Kim, oh, you're not here. Oh, there you are. There you are. So tell us what you've got coming up. Oh, you're muted, Kim. You're on mute.
This weekend I'll be in Washington, D.C. doing a keynote, and it's private, so you can't come, but I just had to say it because they're putting me in a really nice hotel and I'm excited. So anyway, we've lived the life where there's been 5 locks and handprints on the door. So I'm really pumped about that gig, and I'm sorry you can't be there, but man, it's a great hotel. But I have, I was supposed to MC the National Festival, but for family reasons, I need to be with my hubby. But I have the Grapevine Storytelling Series. I'll be part of that coming up. That's online. You can look that up. It's great. They're still not in person yet. I'm also going to be at the Allegheny Highlands Festival coming up. And then I'm in the city of Fairfax on the 29th. I'm doing ghost stories in the square. It's their first year, and they're really trying to get that going. So just a few of the things there that's kind of close up. That's in the next, just a few weeks. Yeah.
And more obviously, Ed Stivender's got his website, edstivender.com. You have kimweitkamp.com. So let's bring up carolmoore.com and see what Carol's got coming up. Hi, Carol. It is carolmoore.com, isn't it?
carolnmoore.com.
Carol N. Moore. Okay, and tell us what you've got coming up, Carol.
So I will be with Ed at the festival next weekend. I'll be performing. It's my first time down there at Exchange Place. It's pretty awesome.
I'm going to come and watch you. Don't you worry.
Whoa.
Carol, we're going for a drink.
Yes. And then I have the Moth Story Slam Grand Slam. I've been invited to participate. It's the Monday after Thanksgiving.
No, I'm in that. I can't believe you. That's just made me. I mean, congratulations, but no, I don't want to compete against you.
Wait, in DC on the 20th.
Oh no, you're in DC. Oh, I'm good. I'm in San Francisco. Oh, okay. Thank goodness. I was really panicking there, thinking, no, I'm going to have to say no. I'm not going.
Okay. Whatever. And then lastly, apparently, I just learned this that there's an event in Fairfax on the 29th or something, some kind of spooky stories apparently. And since Kim will be there, you can find me there too, but I'm just going to go to watch her.
Excellent. And then I suppose I'm going to have to bring back Regina. Come on, Regina. You can come back too. What have you got coming up next?
Oh,
you've got a few shows, haven't you?
Yeah, I have a few shows. We've got 6 Feet Apart open mic. Theme is skeletons, and that is the second Wednesday in October. And actually that just went live. Ticket sales just went live. There it is. And then we are going to have, we rolling through these now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Then we've got, this is Slightly Scary Stories, and really excited about this. This is actually a live show. Woo, our first live show. It's going to be at the Mechanics Institute in San Francisco. It will stream as well. It'll be virtual. So if you're not in San Francisco, you'll be able to catch that. Got some great storytellers. Tim Marinetta, he was on the audio. Oh, he still is. Hey, Tim. So we're looking forward to that. And coming up after that, and Sarah Armstrong, she's in the audience. Well, we've got a lot of our people here, and Claire and I, we're actually going to let Claire tell a story. So there you go. Come for that one.
Actually,
and then the next open mic in November is called Hoodwinked. And then we have our December open mic. We're actually well planned. And you know why that is? Because of me. 'Tis the Season is our December. So those are all, and for those of you, if you're on YouTube, you ever want to tell a story, you get a guaranteed storyteller spot. You buy a ticket, you're guaranteed you are going to tell your story. They're drawn out of a hat, but we only take 10. So there you go. And you win the coveted trophy mug. Also, I am doing a show. I'm going to be doing some comedy at a fundraising event in Livermore at the Bankhead Theater. That's November 16th. And I'm sure I will put something on my Facebook page eventually about that. I'm really bad at self-promotion. So if you want to know what I'm up to, go. Best place is probably my Facebook page, Regina Stoops Comedy. Okay.
Or come and ask me. I'll tell you.
Or ask Claire.
Well, thank you, Regina. Thank you, everybody. On YouTube, we had a slight internet issue at our house. Don't quite know what's happened, so it might have just taken a while to catch up. So if you haven't seen anything, you can go back and watch it all with the link. So hopefully you'll get this. Thank you. Now, going to thank our backstage audience. We're going to stay and have a little after drink party.
Pardon?
Can I
raise my hand? Oh, I was going to say
you
one
may.
more thing.
Want to say something
I'm
else?
sorry. I just have to shout out to my friends Bonnie and Rosemary, who lived in Pleasanton and moved to Arizona. I've known them for like 20 years. They were there from the beginning with Diane and I. And thanks for coming to the show, gals. All right. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody who came to the show, everyone backstage, and our 4 fabulous, very funny tellers. And thank you to Tech Guru, who probably has grown a few more grey hairs. So thank you to everyone. We're going to stay and have a chat, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Six feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you. 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical. So step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.